What's up, guys? Back again to do another draft video. The first video I did in the series was about Trey Lance and should the Broncos draft the quarterback out of North Dakota State. Wanted to continue this series. Going to mainly be focusing on the quarterbacks in this draft because the Broncos seem to be most interested in that position going into this draft with that ninth selection. And again, I did that first video on Trey Lance. I think Trey Lance of this quarterback group, which I think has been a very polarizing group. If you look at all the draft experts and just the pundits and just people in general and their opinions on this class, it's kind of all over the place. And again, I think all these guys are kind of polarizing in their individual ways and in their own ways. And Trey Lance is definitely a guy that seems to be very polarizing, but he's the guy of this group that is like my guy, so to say. I really like the kid. I really think he's going to be a Steve McNair-ish type player. Has a little bit of Dante Culpepper, I think, to him as well, with more speed. And again, he's not as thick as Dante Culpepper. But I did my first video on him. I love him a lot. I would love to see the Broncos draft him. And in this video, I'm going to talk about another quarterback. That is Zach Wilson out of BYU. George Paton attended BYU's Pro Day on March 26th. Wilson was the second quarterback that Paton himself saw in person. Of course, Trey Lance was the first one. So this was interesting because I really didn't expect George Paton to be at this pro day. Again, I know he's interested in quarterbacks in this draft, and made no secret of that going to Trey Lance's pro day. And I expected us to go to Justin Fields and maybe some of these other sleeper quarterbacks like Jamie Newman of Wake Forest or Kellen Mond of Texas A&M or Davis Mills of Stanford. I was expecting us to be at those pro days just because those guys seem more obtainable than Zach Wilson does. I think it's no secret that he's probably going to go number 2 to the New York Jets and is being targeted by them pretty heavily. And there was like 31 teams at his pro day. So this is a guy that obviously there's heavy interest in him. He's very coveted. And again, is a guy that seems to be very polarizing like this entire quarterback class. You look at any analyst, any draft expert, any pundit, the rankings are really kind of all over the place. I mean, the consensus seems to be Trevor Lawrence is number 1, but even like with Zach Wilson, NBC Sports' Chris Sims, a guy who I really respect his opinion on football and the way he evaluates the quarterback position, he has Zach Wilson ranked number 1. And there's some people that got like Zach Wilson ranked number 5. So he's just kind of all over the place in terms of where he's ranked. And again, these rankings seem to be all over the place for this class. But this is a group in general. I'm really high on all these guys, whether it be Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, Justin Fields, Mac Jones, and Trey Lance. That group right there, I think all those guys are going to be special, really. I haven't been this high on a quarterback group in quite some time. And I think Zach Wilson is a very special talent, and I do understand the reasoning for Chris Sims putting him number 1 over Trevor Lawrence, even though I don't agree. I think Trevor Lawrence is the best quarterback in what is a very talented quarterback class. But nonetheless, you look at Zach Wilson, 6'2", 215 pounds, pretty good size, 21 years old. His stats last year for BYU, he started 12 games for them, threw for nearly 3,700 yards, had 33 touchdowns, only 3 interceptions, completed 73.5% of his passes last season. Is a guy that's an incredibly accurate passer, and also had 70 carries for 254 yards and 10 touchdowns for the Cougars in Provo last season. Again, this is a guy that is just very talented. Once again, Chris Sims has him rated as his number 1 quarterback in this draft, ahead of Trevor Lawrence out of Clemson. He has compared Zach Wilson to both Patrick Mahomes and Aaron Rodgers. He believes that Zach Wilson has the best arm in the draft, and the only negative that he sees with Zach Wilson is that he wishes he was maybe a little bit bigger with his size, but overall his throwing mechanics are flawless. Not an angle he can't throw it from. And this was a quote from Chris Sims on Zach Wilson where he said, "When things aren't perfect, it's almost perfect every throw too," about his arm talent and again his ability to make these off-platform throws. It's like the scouting buzzword for the kind of throws I think he's describing in terms of when he says Zach Wilson has the best arm talent. So Chris Sims, there's his opinion on him, but this is what I say. This is what I mean when I talk about the polarization of this quarterback draft class ahead of this 2021 NFL draft, and how polarizing Zach Wilson is as a prospect because former quarterback J.T. O'Sullivan, another guy who I think is just a wealth of knowledge, a phenomenal resource in terms of learning the game and again evaluating the quarterback position. He broke Zach Wilson down, and he, I think, is a little bit on the opposite end of the spectrum than Chris Sims is in terms of how he views what Zach Wilson is going to be at the next level. Again, he sees the arm angles and the ability that Wilson has to throw the ball really from any angle, and has the quick release and the smooth mechanics, and believes he can make special throws and has very good arm talent and is a twitchy athlete. But he sees massive inconsistencies with the guy in terms of missing throws that you shouldn't in terms of his arm talent. He shows a throw specifically, I think, in BYU's game against Houston this past season where Zach Wilson, he misses a screen. I think it's a throw on a screen, and he misses a screen pass, by 3 yards. And he's kind of pointing out what he's saying there with the inconsistency and him missing kind of short, easy throws. And in terms of, progressing through his reads too quickly, keeping his eyes downfield, missing easy reads, his vision. And again, he believes he throws a ton of jump balls, and the decision making with his throws in terms of his deep ball throws, he showed in that Houston game, again, a lot of potential missed interceptions in his opinion. So it's very interesting to hear two guys that I really respect their opinion and are two guys that I go to in terms of how they evaluate this position and their opinions on the position. I really value that. They're both on the opposite end of the spectrum, so I always like doing that before I get into these prospect previews, so to say, for myself. And obviously I'm a pretty avid college football fan, so Zach Wilson's a guy I watched all season, and I have my own opinion on this guy, but I like getting other information from two guys that are former professionals at the position and definitely know a hell of a lot more about the game and the position and how to play it at the highest level than I do. I like getting their kind of take before I, go back and watch Zach Wilson myself and then kind of give my, own opinion and own take on him and his potential, kind of piecing together what I saw as a fan watching throughout the season, and then like really going back and watching some of the games and really trying to evaluate him as best as I personally can. And in my personal opinion, I'm a little bit somewhere in between JT O'Sullivan's take on him and Chris Sims' take on him, which I know is a cop-out, but I lean towards more of what Chris Sims says. I don't think, again, he's the best quarterback in this class. Honestly, I'd probably have him maybe as even the third best quarterback in this class. I could see an argument for him being the second best quarterback in this class for sure, but I'd probably have him tied with Justin Fields as the third best quarterback in this class. And I really think the comparison to Aaron Rodgers, I think is I understand it. I think it's pretty fair to a degree if you're projecting his ultimate ceiling. And even like Russell Wilson, Connor Rogers, another guy I respect. I've seen him compare Zach Wilson to Russell Wilson, and I definitely can see that comparison as well. And ultimately, when I look at Zach Wilson's skill set, he is a guy that I think is flashy as hell. I do think there's enormous potential with his skill set, but I do agree with JT O'Sullivan that there's some pretty big risk, especially like making him out to be like this franchise-saving guy on the level of like a Patrick Mahomes, right, or even an Aaron Rodgers. I think there's big risks putting that on this kid when you really look at his game, and there's really big risks taking him number 2 overall, which he's projected to go to the Jets. But I also think he has the talent that's justifiable of taking him at that spot. This is a guy that, again, the mechanics are about as effortless and as smooth as you could want, and that you've probably ever seen from a quarterback coming out of college. He has that quick flick release that you see from Aaron Rodgers. Again, the release and the mechanics are very, I think, very, very similar to Aaron Rodgers. I definitely think that comparison, I understand that one quite a bit. The Patrick Mahomes one, I don't get. The only thing I think very similar to Mahomes is the arm angles. But again, he has those compact mechanics, that really quick release like Aaron Rodgers. And he's got, I think, really, really good footwork. He's got really great smoothness within the pocket, especially with his footwork. But he's also really elusive and has kind of some wiggle within that pocket and is shifty and really does have a great arm. I do agree with Chris Sims that he's got a great arm talent and he has legit power. He's a guy that has the ability to throw fastballs and make throws like the Josh Allens and the Patrick Mahomes and the Aaron Rodgers of the world. He can stand in the pocket, and he can drive the ball outside the numbers. He can drive the ball down the field accurately with ease, and is a guy that definitely has a big arm and has great touch on the deep ball. I definitely think there's some questionable decision making, as JT O'Sullivan has pointed out, with some of the deep throws that he makes, and I do think he does often throw some jump balls, but his touch on the deep ball again is pretty flawless, and the location of some of the balls in terms of the deep balls that he throws is insane. The ball placement is pretty flawless, I think, for the most part, and I think his arm strength really pops when he's making throws on the move, or again, you're seeing him making those off-platform throws or those off-balance throws, across the body. He can make those throws effortlessly. You saw his pro day, which obviously went viral and was very impressive if you watch it, and you see that throw at his pro day where he's fading left, he's on a rollout and he's going backwards, and off of 1 foot he throws 50, 60-yard throw to the opposite direction to the right hash marks, and he throws it on the money, leading the receiver. Again, just showing the touch on the deep ball, but showing the ability to make those adjustments in terms of those throws on the run, his arm talent with the off-platform throws, his ability to make these throws, with his feet not on the ground, off of 1 foot, and again, just showed the arm talent, which I see, and I think he's also a phenomenal play action passer. I think again his arm really pops as well when you see the things he can do in the play action game. But I also don't think he's got the best arm in this draft. I really don't believe that is all, and I don't think he has an I don't think he has an arm quite like Mahomes, I should say. I don't think his arm is bigger than Trey Lance. Again, I think Trey Lance, when you watch the ball come out of Trey Lance's hand, it's electric, man. There's like a smoothness to the way Zach Wilson throws it compared to Trey Lance, or even like a Trevor Lawrence, or even like a Justin Fields. I think all three of those guys, there's a legit argument. All three of them have bigger arms than Zach Wilson, but maybe that's also like the reason to say Zach Wilson has a bigger arm is because it looks so effortless that it tricks you into thinking that maybe his arm isn't as big as these other guys when he really is. And again, the arm angles are real, and they're very Mahomes-like. But that's about the only thing I see that's like Mahomes personally. But the arm angles are real. They're the best in this class. There's a lot of unique throws that he can make within the pocket under pressure because of all the angles that he can create and throwing lanes that he can create with the angles that he can throw the ball from. And it's very special to watch, and it's really fun to watch. And again, I think that's the aspect of his game that makes Chris Sims compare him to a Patrick Mahomes, or even an Aaron Rodgers to an extent. But I also think the thing about Zach Wilson's game that's a little bit underrated is his athleticism and his mobility. He's got really solid mobility. He's not Trey Lance or Justin Fields, but he's way more athletic than I think a lot of people give him credit for, and the ability he has as a runner. You can run designed quarterback runs for him, quarterback powers, and he'll be very effective with those kind of plays, especially in the red zone. He can be a threat with his legs, and he can make guys miss in the open field, I think, a lot more than people expect. But I think, again, where I start to push back on the Chris Sims narrative of, this guy is Aaron Rodgers or Patrick Mahomes, he's number one quarterback over Trevor Lawrence, is I do see the inconsistencies that critics of Zach Wilson point out. Is I think a lot of people criticize Trey Lance, which I think is wrong, because look at the pro system and the offensive system he came out of North Dakota State, saying he doesn't make a lot of reads, just a lot of one reads, and that's it. And there there is a lot of one read passes in North Dakota State's offense for Trey Lance, but he also had to make a lot of checks at the line and getting the right pass protections and recognizing blitzes and things along that line and run checks. Like, he did a lot of those things. And people give Justin Fields that same crap in terms of like, oh, he was in a one read offense, and I get those criticisms with Lance and with Fields, but I think that same criticism can apply to BYU. At least from what I watched, I saw a lot of one read and go throws for Zach Wilson at BYU, and I think the criticism is fair that he plays too quickly through his reads, or that he doesn't go through his reads consistently at times. And I think it's something he needs to work on, but it is something I think I saw him do more consistently probably than a Justin Fields. or maybe you can even argue he did more than Trey Lance, and it's something that he's definitely capable of doing. But he does have the same issue as Trey Lance sometimes with his vision, is he just misses easy throws, wide open throws, and that I think plays into going through his reads too quickly, so to say. Ultimately, I think, like, for me, I definitely get the Patrick Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers comparison in terms of the mechanics. Again, I don't think he's really Patrick Mahomes. I definitely see more Aaron Rodgers with him, especially with the way he throws the ball. But I think, honestly, he's like a bigger armed, more athletic version of Baker Mayfield. And I think that's probably like at worst what he'll be. But again, I don't think he's the best quarterback in this draft. I definitely don't think he's better than Trevor Lawrence, but I still think he's a very special thrower. And again, the throws he can make off balanced, again, are definitely special, and he can do those kind of things with the arm angles and his compact release better than probably anyone in this draft, no question. Really, the big question for the Broncos is, should they draft Zach Wilson? And like I said with Trey Lance, to me, it's a resounding yes. I will continue to make it clear, even though there's people that will go on social media and make 10-minute videos defending him. I don't believe in Drew Lock. I never have. I think he's Jay Cutler. I think he will continue to be Jay Cutler. There's 13 games of evidence to show you why last season. And I think any quarterback in this class, literally, at least these top 5 guys, would be an upgrade over him. So I would, I think, should the Broncos draft Zach Wilson? Again, it's a resounding yes. But the problem with Zach Wilson is I don't think there's no chance in hell he's getting to number 9. There's no chance in hell he's probably, falling past number 3 to the Niners. And a lot of people, again, think he's going number 2 to the Jets. And during his pro day, the Niners made that trade up to number 3 with Miami to get the 3rd overall pick. So again, if by some way the Jets don't take him, they're definitely going to take him. So if the Broncos are to get Zach Wilson, they're going to have to move up to that number 2 pick, I think, with the Jets. And I have no idea what the Jets would take at this point after that pro day, after what I think all the tape on Zach Wilson and what his ability is, and what I think in terms of he'd be in terms of comparing him to Sam Darnold, and upgrade he'd be over Sam Darnold. I don't think there's any way they're going to just give up this pick at this point. But if we were to get Zach Wilson, we'd have to trade up to that number 2 pick, and it would cost a lot. I mean, you look at what San Francisco gave up to get to number 3. They gave up two first-round picks in 2022 and 2023. They obviously gave up the 12th pick this year, and they also gave up a 2022 third-round pick, and that was to move up to number 3. So you're obviously going to have to give up something similar to that to get up to number 2. You're going to have to give up 9. You're going to have to give up at least 2 first-round picks, probably 3 at this point with that pro day Zach Wilson had. And then maybe a young player, and then maybe Drew Lock too in the deal, and then a 2nd-round pick or 3rd-round pick too. So like, I don't know if George Payton, and knowing his philosophy, I feel, on the draft, if he looks at Zach Wilson as a guy worth that price tag. I really don't. And where he's picking at 9 and how the board could fall, or maybe trading up to 3 or 4 and getting a different quarterback, or not 3, excuse me, but maybe trading up to 4 with Atlanta and getting a different quarterback ahead of Carolina at 8, because they're definitely going to try to get a quarterback. I think he might rather do that than pay the price that it would to get up to number 2 with the Jets and exchange those picks. And again, I don't even think the Jets are going to trade out of that spot. I think they really are going to go with Zach Wilson, and probably rightfully so. I think it'll be a very good pick for their franchise, and he'll be a hell of a player for regardless of who takes him. And I'd love to see him in Denver. I just don't think it's going to happen. And again, there's no way he falls to number 9. There's no way he falls past number 3 in my eyes. And in order to get him, we'd have to trade up to number 2. And I just don't think George Payton's going to pay that price tag. So that's my video on Zach Wilson, and should the Broncos draft Zach Wilson. I'd love to see him here with this offense and with the weapons like Judy and Noah Fant and Courtland Sutton, and what he could do with this offense and with these weapons. But again, I don't think he's going to be there. So I'd love to hear your guys' take on him, and if you guys would love to see him in Denver, and if you guys think we should try to make a move up to number 2 with the Jets, and if you think the Jets would even trade out of that spot. So would love to hear from you guys. Please like the video, subscribe, really helps the channel out, and I'll see you guys for the next video. Thanks.